than to just post something in all caps that doesn't really say like I'm feeling angry. It just says like it's all this person's fault, you know?
I'm with you.
So,
Yeah, I notice. I see all of it playing out, and so many people's realities have fallen in on them so fast. And there's a lot of power being given back to humanity. So many people are like getting their power back. What do you believe? What's your truth? You can't go to work anymore, can't do all these things that you used to feel really safe doing. What do you choose? Now you have choices. Now you can create. What would you like to create? It's a lot of power that most people are not equipped to manage.
are we live right now?
We're live.
Okay, I want to share it on my Facebook.
I started recording because I was like, you're saying really good things and I don't want to miss it.
All right. All right, so I go to yours and I click, I probably have to hit refresh.
What's going on in the world? And I hear that song, what's going on? What's going on in the world filled with pain? What's going on?
I really loved the Black Eyed Peas and that song, Where's the Love? So good, you know.
Where's the love?
Right.
Where's the love? Oh yeah, good one. We got some people joining us. Hi, family.
All right, it's on my timeline now too. Now I can go back.
Aww.
You. Okay.
You have some great people too. So you get some letters. First of all, let's just start here. I love how we just drop right into this, like no time has ever passed, and it's such an honor to be here with you. And we're just laughing because you're like, you didn't realize that I was still on Maui. I live right down the mountain from you. I'm like, hi from your neighbor. I'm right here. And just holding that prayer that we get to hang out someday in some magical forest or beach and hang. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Daniel, I came across your work years ago. I don't know how. We all just find each other when we're meant to. And you know, I've been getting your emails every day for years. I've done sessions with you. We've done a bunch of podcasts, and I just love you and I honor you. And you are so generous with your energy, with your creativity. You're just such a generous being. I mean, you are working with such big energies and guidance, and I don't know how you do it. You just bring through every day. There's a new transmission from some guide that has the perfect message for my soul in that particular moment. That's more and more, especially over the last 2 years, as I've been on my own awakening, ascension, kind of deepening in my multidimensional access. The messages have become even more clear and have felt even at times very individually directed to me. And I'm like, this is affirming word by word something that came through in a session I was giving for someone else, or just we're all tuning in to these frequencies and you're giving them voice, you're putting them in the written word, which means they're crystallizing even more powerfully in this plane. And so I just want to thank you and honor you for your service and for your bravery and for the courage that it takes to be sharing about galactic consciousness, multidimensionality at a time. You've been doing this for a long time, longer than me, and for a long time, pioneering this work and just being a stand for these types of conversations. So I just really want to thank you and welcome you. And I want to know how you're feeling. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. And in case we weren't recording at the time I said this earlier, I do want to say in reciprocation here that your posts on Facebook and Instagram have felt like a safe haven for me lately. Because lately I've been trying as little as possible to be on those platforms, but whenever I see something from you, it always feels very good and authentic, and you're one of the people who understands that what's going on inside of you matters, and that just talking about your internal process and what you're facing is the most helpful thing that you could do for other people to make them more aware of what's going on inside of them. And you also inspire me because you're so great at getting yourself out there. And I remember the post where I saw you'd sold 12,000 copies of your book, and I had to message you right away. I'm like, what are you doing? How did you do that? Because I'm like happy if I sell, 100 in a month. That would be, and that's all 4 of my books combined,
Oh, wow. I'm just taking that all in. I'm so honored, Daniel. Like, wow. Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. And I really feel you about not really wanting to hang out on social media lately.
Yeah.
And it's this weird feeling of like, I don't really want to be in these spaces that, like, I'm really devoted to my healing path now and like my life and creating my masterpiece of this life. And I'm receiving all this vision and all this activation. And there's like, my dreams are here requiring my full attention. And it's just so clear to me now, like, whoa, these old games I used to play where I would feed into the social media machines as like one of the games was like, you have to go on social media to get clients. Another one was like, you have to go on social media to have a following and get attention and be important and feel like you're making a difference. One of the games is you have to be there to like save people. People can't wake up without you, like that kind of a thing, but all very heavy,
Yeah.
like obligation and kind of like entrapment. And I've just been feeling such a lightness, especially this August with all of the shifts that have been occurring and the healing I've gone through. I've just cut so many codependency games, and
Yeah.
I don't need to show up there, but when it feels authentic to do so, I don't know what comes through now. It feels so much easier. It's just like, okay, here's an idea, here's a thing, I'm doing this, and then I just delete all the apps and I just let it go, and I don't even check it, and and it's just a tool. But it's really nice to remember that, I guess, for the greater context, like these are also the platforms that most of the world is using and that most of people are interfacing on a daily basis. And the energy is so negative and it doesn't feel good. And yet most of humanity are like playing in these spaces. And it's like, wow, okay, so maybe I do want to show up there and add a little bit of light and but from a genuine, loving, authentic place, because it feels good, not because I have to. But there's a context there of like, whoa, most of humanity is operating in these really like dark, negative, dense portals all the time and like sharing like the truth. Here's what's happening. Here's what's going on.
Right.
This is what I
You need
believe.
to know.
It's like, whoa. It's a lot, but you put your daily posts out and you make your videos and you're sharing channeling and you're sharing this wisdom from our galactic family that has the higher perspective that I very much resonate with, of like the earth plan and what's unfolding, what's going on, and that's what we're here to explore today. I love what you were sharing earlier. I'd love for you to speak into that a little more. Like, you were sharing how people are sending you letters and like they're upset and angry,
Well,
and like,
I get forwarded things. I had to mute one guy on Facebook. I didn't unfriend him or anything, but like every single day, a new article, video, something that was like low vibration, not something I would ever look for myself, not something I even agree with. Propaganda, all that stuff that I'm trying so hard to rise above. And I don't even like, Sydney, looking at things that I do agree with, if it has to do with politics or something like that, because then politics like automatically puts you on a side. And even though I love my side, and I won't say what it is, I don't want to push against the other side. I don't like the way that feels.
Yeah.
I don't like thinking about someone that I'm only thinking about them because I feel like angry that they're saying the things that they're saying and doing the things that they're doing and people are supporting them. Like I still don't feel good pushing against, even though I do feel like I'm right. So even watching other people who I agree with puts me in a negative space, and I don't want to do it. I don't want to be in an us versus them mentality anymore. And there's so much of that happening where people feel like they need to take a side, because I think people are not really going within enough. And so going outside is social media. It's saying like, what is this person posting? What did this person say about my post? How many likes did I get? What does this person who claims to have insider information say is going on behind the scenes in the shadows now? And it's all outside. It's outside, it's outside, it's outside. It keeps us, so keeping us divided, you could say, keeps us feeling less empowered, because we're so much more powerful when we're like this. And also keeping us believing that there are people out there with way more power than we have doing terrible, terrible things, also keeps us feeling small and disempowered. So I don't like going there at all. I'm not going to watch Plandemic. I'm just not going to watch it. I don't care if it's all true. I still don't want to watch it, because it's disempowering to me to be told of a perspective that says this is what's happening to you and you really can't do anything about it. And then if you compound that with, well, the one thing you can do about it is vote for our candidate, then it's even worse of a misleading misinformation campaign. So I'm trying my best to rise above all of it. And the other thing that's interesting that you and I get to experience that not everyone does, which we also have to take into consideration, is you and I live on Maui. I mean, talk about a bubble. Like, talk about living in a bubble, and living in an ivory tower, and not so what we see through what people are posting about on social media is we see that not everyone is living a fantastic life, and not everyone has had all the opportunities that we've had, been fortunate enough to be on the paths that we've been put on by our higher selves. And so you see all the fear and all the anger and all the hate and everything that's out there that people have within them that's really coming from trauma. It's really, at the end of the day, it's all about whether someone has been able to resolve their trauma or not, has been able to make peace with it and release it. And what you and I can do from the ivory tower is we can help people because we can stand on that stable ground from this life of privilege and fortune that's been thrust upon us. I'm not saying that we didn't do anything to create it, because obviously we did. And obviously, meditating every day for 20 years, which I have done, is going to have a positive impact on your life.
A little bit of work.
Yeah, but I also drank myself into blackout states for most half my 20s. That's what I was doing. So we have the opportunity to help people to feel their feelings, find their trauma, hold space for them, hold our hands out and say, come over here to the light, it's possible, and hopefully help people to rise above that idea of you have no power over your life, and it's all being worked out by beings who you'll never see, or you don't really know who the good guys and bad guys are unless you're tuning into the right, internet source. So I just feel like we need to be always reminding people, because I'm not, even though I live on Maui and I'm doing well, and I've got a wife and a kid who I love completely, and everything's going really well, it doesn't mean that I don't have my struggles, and I have to like drink my own Kool-Aid, like I have to remind myself all the time, like I was saying, if I start going down that path of, oh yeah, look how right I am, and then immediately it turns into, which means all these people are wrong. And I have to catch myself and it's been like this constant thing I've been doing of like having to bring myself back to the present, back to the basics. I really think that if anything right now, we need back to the basics. 101 spirituality. You create your reality. Go meditate, feel your feelings, try to have compassion for people who are very different from you, and love yourself, and drink water and exercise. And you know what I mean? Like that's what none of this stuff that you and I were talking about earlier is including within it. There's none of that included within it. It's always defeat, 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 but it's never about the individual and bringing the individual back to themselves. So we need the Eckhart Tolles and the Mujis and the people who will like always be rising above all of it and staying there, and just staying there, like for people like you and me who are like, trying to be more Muji like,
Trying to be Muji like. I'm not trying to be anymore, actually. That's a big recovery of this past year. I'm no longer trying to be. I'm being myself.
Good.
And I'm really learning who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm learning my language and my pace, my truth, and what I believe in and what I like. And it's funny to be telling you this now, when even for the last couple of years, I built a platform around authenticity and like magic and all these things, and thought I was embodying myself, and but there's just been such a deepening this last year. It's been really big. And I know that some of us, probably a lot of people tuning in, listening, certainly Visionary Souls listeners tuning in, we're a little bit ahead of the curve. We tend to get the initiations and the lessons that are coming to humanity. We kind of get them early so that we can do the work and lay down some groundwork and some new pathways that then others can take when they're ready. When they're ready, they're just a few steps behind us. Sometimes they're a few years behind us, but there are many of us, I call it, what are we? The New Earth Transition Team, the ground crew. And we're here at a very particular, specific time to, I keep hearing Atlantis as we're talking. I'm like, Atlantis, let's talk about Atlantis. Because this whole year for me has been like healing the trauma of Atlantis and the lifetimes that I had there, and that many people, I feel so much energy coming in about this, many lifetimes there, many people I'm connected to in this life we shared, and big healing. And the planetary kind of context that we're in, it is a mirror right now. The unfolding of what we're experiencing is a mirror of what occurred at the Atlantis. But I keep hearing, now's our chance. We don't get it wrong this time. We came back to this life because we get to do it right. Like there's no way we could do it wrong. We're going to do it right this time.
Exactly. Love that. And I used to write screenplays, and I would love to write a screenplay about Atlantis if I had the time to do it.
That would be very healing for the collective.
Because everybody thinks of Atlantis as like this underwater city, as opposed to like how it really existed above, on the surface, and before it was, destroyed and sank, so what life was like on Atlantis, and seeing those same themes being played out here today, as though you have to take a side. Back then it was, you had to take a side, whether you're on the side of science and technology or earth and spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And and there were very few in the middle who were like trying to bring both sides together,
Well, that's where all the fear, there's all this fear emerged, was present. And I find it's like such a deeply personal lesson for me in this lifetime, the lesson of like wanting so deeply to experience harmony, heaven on earth, peace, unity, love. But then the wound and the trauma from the Atlantean timeline said that that's not possible without controlling the unfoldment of harmony and the unfoldment of unity, and making sure that everyone is like uniform and believing in the same thing. And the unity has to mean one universal truth, but everyone has to be vetted that they actually believe that. So still there's these power distortions and people in power overseeing everything, and fundamentally huge lack in trust. And, you can't have unity without these basic ingredients. And so I just see so much of this arising right now. And I wonder, I think most, when I tune in about that, most people on earth have, maybe everyone on earth has memories of those timelines, and at least the DNA, we have these memories of these traumas.
Oh, sure.
And so this is playing out, but unconsciously it plays out as, victim consciousness, I have to, and just really feeling so disempowered from, and just disconnected from one's truth and one's ability to confidently express what one believes. It's like, because there's been so much fear. If you express what you really believe, you're going to be killed. Even in this more recent timeline, I mean, we're up against a lot. I mean, millions of people were killed in genocides worldwide for being witches, wizards, healers, mystics, anything that was outside of the norm, really. Anything, really. Like, we have these words, witches and wizards, but it's like anybody that was doing something different for the last couple thousand years was like murdered. State-sanctioned genocide, pretty much, like millions of people, a lot of women. And so we're also healing that right now, I feel, right? We've been healing it, but particularly now there's this deep set fear, perhaps unconsciously motivating people, like really being afraid to tune in with what their truth is, because their truth might be so visionary and out of the box. It might open up this whole other reality that, okay, suddenly all of their old identities that they felt safe living in no longer work. And where did they fit in, and where did they belong? And so much responsibility. Then, well, what do I do with all of these choices? It's like a lot. It's a lot of power.
I definitely feel like now is the time for the divine feminine on the planet. And the divine feminine really is trying to emerge, and people want, there is, I think there's way more of an emphasis now than there was, let's say, in the 1950s. So we've definitely made a huge movement towards people talking about feelings, like men being allowed to have feelings,
Oh, the men, yeah.
Feelings just being like something that people are considering to be worth talking about. And what I think you see worldwide in response to that is the lower masculine coming up and trying to squash it. That doesn't mean all men, that just means the lower masculine energy are saying, like, no, let's go back to the way things were in the 1950s. It was better then, when people just stayed in the closet, or people just, accepted their place, like, you don't belong here, and, all that sort of thing that you're seeing as like the ugliness that has existed within society for so long that needs to be exposed now. And that's one of the good things about the internet, is like, there is so much more out there now that you can look up, that you can become informed about, and say, oh my God, I didn't know that. Like you were saying, like, so many people just think, oh, so the Jews in the Nazi concentration camps. That's the only genocide. But then you know, it's like one of so many genocides
Wow, there's a
that
lot.
people don't
There's
teach
a lot
about.
happening right now on Earth at this moment. I feel that there are many genocide initiatives occurring at this moment, like right now, all the time, always. It's actually, it's like unfathomable. The reason what's coming through right now is, you know, we've had to shut off our feelings. We've had to shut down emotion because the level of oppression and trauma and destruction and like just sheer hatred and murder that has happened on Earth for thousands of years, it would be impossible to try to emotionally, like, it just, I actually can't even fully, my brain kind of explodes. I'm like, yeah, but if we felt the empathy, then maybe we would have stood up and tried to stop it. Okay, yeah, people did do that in history. They were usually killed because they were seen as weak. And it's like somehow, and by nature of evolutionary, I don't know, like competitive advantage, like the people that shut down their feelings and emotions and are able to kill everyone else
Yeah,
were the ones
true.
that won out and then created history.
Yeah, you're right. I've thought of that too. I've had that exact same thought. Like, if you can set aside all your emotions, then you're a better hunter and gatherer and provider, and you know, those genes are being perpetuated. You know.
Wow, but not anymore because now with the way that energy, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this. The way the energy is moving through us now, the way that our bodies are changing, the physical body of humanity is changing, and the physical body of Earth is changing with all of the light that we are receiving. And we no longer, it's like we have to feel because our body cannot hold density. Like it will get sick or die. Like we have no choice but to feel the repression that has been held deep within these bodies. We have no choice but to feel it and release it and heal it so that we can gracefully be in our light body. And that's really, I think we're all in that choice point right now, no matter where we are in the journey, because we're all getting blasted with the same light at like speeds beyond anything we've ever seen before. And it's all, this is all impacting us immensely, right?
Definitely. And that's why I think when you say like people, it's too much, it's because we took on so much in this lifetime of like, okay, I'm going to go there, I'm going to release all the trauma from all these past lives, I'm going to deal with all the stuck energy, all the emotions I've never been able to feel in any past life before. And then we get here and it's like, whoa, 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 this is too much. And then, yeah, you either turn to pharmaceuticals or you self-medicate. Like I said, I did in my teens and 20s because I was so riddled with anxiety, and I felt like the only way I can really go to a party or go to a bar is if I drank enough to start to feel good about myself, you know? And that's what people are doing. And it's an avoiding technique, you know, it's a defense mechanism, but eventually it squirts out in some way. And then you have to deal with like a huge mess. And that's usually the rock bottom experience, I think, for people. And then they start to actually say, okay, well, this isn't working. I need to try to do something else. And of course, a lot of people are just turning to legal, you know, pharmaceutical drugs to deal with stuff that they really need to deal with on their own. So when Deepak Chopra started out, he said, you know, he was just a medical doctor, and he said, I felt like a legalized drug pusher. People just came to me. They didn't want to change. They didn't want to hear about like what they could do to maybe take care of this in a more natural way. They just wanted my prescription pad. And that's why he stopped doing it. That's why he stopped being a medical doctor.
Yeah, I feel like so many people now have the opportunity to, I mean, I even just went through this like a couple weeks ago. I was in like the darkest, oh, there's the baby in the background. Oh my gosh. So
Ah,
I was going to ask you, how's your baby? Just quick side note, how's your baby?
he's great. He's
So
great.
cute. Oh, so cute. I love
He's
seeing them.
probably asleep or something.
Oh, so sweet. Yay. Oh, wow. Oh,
She's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, easily, without question. And I didn't even know that I wanted to have a baby until I was 40, no, 46
it's
when
like a
I,
year ago, right? Because I remember I was trying to invite you to Odyssey and you really felt the energy of it. Or you're like, we're going to have a baby. No one knows yet, but we can't travel. And so that was about a year ago.
oh, that's right. Yeah. She
Yeah.
was born July 14th of 2019.
Wow.
So she's 13 months now.
No. Special. And you're
It's
probably
really
in a
nice.
whole new initiation of human life now.
Yeah.
Wow, beautiful. Oh, yeah, I don't think what was going to say even matters anymore. I was just sharing, like this sense of, I did a live yesterday with a friend and we were sharing about recovery. I like you, very similar story. I think that's the truth for many uh,
Light
beings
workers. Yeah.
that are here on earth to do a lot of healing. We do a lot of healing in ourselves and then we remember why we're here and we share our medicine with others and that's it. And yeah, but I wonder now if, the rock bottom experience that is sufficient to catalyze someone's shift in consciousness, right, into a new
Right.
potential, a new choice. It like doesn't necessarily have to be drugs, alcohol, substance, like these like hardcore, near death experiences. I sense that right now what's happening for a lot of people is just this stopping that's had to happen, this slowdown, this rapid like course correct and however they were operating on autopilot. And suddenly almost it's kind of this divine design, I think, this whole, corona, which I just love that it's called corona, like the crown being given back to humanity, the power being given back to us. There's all these like funny meanings to that for me of like, okay, slow down, divine feminine activation, like be with yourself. You have no choice anymore. And see what happens when you actually sit still and see what feelings naturally emerge and see what healing naturally happens. See what creativity is coming through. Like, I'm amazed at how much I'm noticing, even in just my field, people I'm connected to, like there's just such a resurgence of creativity and awakening and within people that have been leading a lot of the awakening, I'm noticing in my fellow allies, they're like we're all going through these massive ego deaths and like purges of inauthenticity and like, oh my God, I can't believe I was selling that thing that I didn't even embody or like believe. Like, ah. And like, how do I make this right? What is it to walk in actual integrity as
Uh,
myself? What is that like? And that
uh,
being the ultimate reason why we're here on earth, actually, maybe to just find that out beyond anything we do or create or impact that we make or all this other stuff that we used to think was our purpose. It's like,
oh yeah.
it came through. I was doing a reading with a client earlier and it was just so clear. It was like a repeated message for both of us, like, because she was experiencing some confusion around like my sense of purpose feels really like I feel cloudy around it. I've never felt this sense of cloudiness around my purpose. Like I've usually felt so on mission, on task, like I know what I'm doing, but now I just feel like I don't know. I'm confused. I feel confusion. And what came through was your purpose. Your purpose is to experience your absolute presence. Your purpose is to experience your absolute presence. And anything else you do is for fun. And so these attachments that we've been taught, like conditioned with around purpose and impact and production, it's like that's all shifting. And your purpose is who you are and experiencing that fully, right? And so I feel like we're speaking into that a little bit and that message came through so clear today. It was awesome.
I totally agree that most people, when they talk about purpose and mission, they think it's something they do rather than something that they become. And like I was saying earlier, 10 years, took 10 years of me meditating before anything happened for me, like spiritually, any sort of like spiritual experience. And it all happened in the same year of 2010. And so now it's been 10 years since I started channeling. And again, these are non-actions. These are things I just said, you know what, I feel like crap and I feel better after I meditate. So maybe I should meditate, and it was like every single day had to do it. Didn't really feel like I had a choice. And it's not an action. I wasn't writing a book. I wasn't creating videos for YouTube. I was just meditating. And there's so much, there's just so much inside each of us that is still yet to be tapped into. And I'm more excited about that. I don't care if I ever get off this island again, honestly.
You're in the best place on earth.
Like, I'm not a huge fan of traveling. So, I'd rather just like me and Talea and Mari Chris like go in the forest and meditate or, something like that, and have that be the trip that we take, is just going in that infinite inward space, because that's where you discover that your love, your source, you are your higher self, and you don't need a spaceship to come and take you away from anything.
But they're actually here now to say hi. I saw one the other day when I was driving down from Haiku. I think it freaked. I was meeting a new friend, and I just, I have like no filter at all, and I was just driving us down the hill from Haiku, and it like just appeared so vividly. Like, I feel like sometimes they appear and it's kind of like a joke, like they're like playing a joke on you, like, haha, we know you can see us, but maybe the person you're with like can't, and so we're just going to be really quick. And it was like this ship, and I like saw it, and then my friend was like, what are you looking at? And I'm like, I just saw a spaceship. And I could tell that he was like, what? But whatever, they're here.
Oh, definitely. They definitely are.
Yeah. And I just love exploring like that. And even with this new friend, I love exploring this space when we talk about it openly, and it's so healing, because I feel like these are the kinds of technologies really that humanity needs, are like communications technologies, not like social media platforms, but actual like technology being like the way that we can speak to each other and hold space for genuine, authentic expression and exploration without judgment, and just holding a space of love. And for example, like I have all this galactic language sometimes, and then this new friend will be like, I don't know how he's like has a long Buddhist, like pretty like devoted discipline, like Buddhist lineage, like lots of retreat, like really different language, but like similar path. Very same path, but like very different language. And so he'll be like, I don't know, I'm getting distracted by these like spaceship, like quantum activation, like put like 13th dimension. But he's like, but it feels right, like it feels true, but my mind can't like fully, it just doesn't fully compute with the language that I'm used to using.
Yeah.
But I trust you and I feel you, and like there's something here to explore. And
Right.
I'm open to exploring what's here for me, because he's able to notice that like the fact that he holds a judgment is like something to look at, is something to learn from, is something to grow from. It's not something to like hold tightly to, like, I believe in this forever.
Right.
It has to be the truth. Otherwise I'm a horrible, wrong person, and everything I've ever done is wrong. And there's just these extremes that for whatever reason have been so encoded in our reality and our cells, these like so much fear, so much, we're unlearning so much fear.
Yeah, I think it's really important to just have many different teachers that you're going to for different things, for different experiences, because otherwise you don't want to ever get too dogmatic about what you believe in.
Mm.
You know, and you don't want to become a clone of the person that you're following and just quote them all the time. So it's it's really nice to let go of that need for everything to fit into the box that you were, you know, taught in.
Mm.
I feel like that's a hugely important step for someone to take. And I had to do that myself,
Mm.
and do that with Abraham Hicks, because I was like their mascot. You know, I was like on every cruise for
I can see
almost 3 years, like every single cruise, and like
Aw.
flying over the country to see Esther Channel, and that's that, and everybody knew that like I was the encyclopedia of Abraham. If they wanted to know, I would just be like, well, they said this about this, and you know, and then eventually, luckily, I was like able to leave the nest and go explore other teachings, and the big thing that I needed to explore was ETs, because I had had my own ET experience. I had had my own like close encounter that I wasn't, I was more curious. I became more and more curious about it, and I needed to go and start listening to Bashar and attending Bashar workshops and going to Bashar for private sessions, which I had 3 of in total when I used to live in SoCal.
I almost went to see him. I had an appointment, and then my higher self checked me and was like, "You're not going to see him because your intentions are not pure." I was like,
Oh,
I was like going for some weird like validation seeking. I don't know.
oh,
It wasn't allowed. But I had it booked at some point like 2 years ago. Funny.
whoa. I went to go see him the first time before I even knew what Bashar was. I just thought Bashar was like some being, you know, like some non-physical name for a non-physical being. So I didn't know any of the story, but I knew that there was a guy channeling in the valley. So I just went to make an appointment, and you know,
Wow.
but I needed to explore more of the ET realm, and I did, and I'm glad I did, and I'm glad that I'm not feeling like I have to. I don't. I'd rather be so open to whatever wants to come through me than attached to anyone's story,
Hmm.
you know. And I think that people also, another thing that you see a lot of happening is you see a lot of people just wanting to know what's going to happen. Like there's so much of that, and it's as if the idea of one reality is still very omnipresent within New Age thought. Like there's just one reality, there's one future, it's destiny, we're all moving towards it, and there's nothing anyone's going to do to stop it. And yet every prediction I've ever seen in my travels in the New Age, I've seen one come true. Not one.
Oh, you didn't see one. I thought you said I just saw one come true.
No, I haven't seen one come true. So it's interesting that people are still looking for predictions of what's going to happen at this time, you know. And right now, the big one that's going around is that the shift will happen in December.
Yeah, man, I see it. December 21.
Right?
The solstice portal.
Right.
But like, who cares? So much is shifting every day. Every day is like 20 lifetimes at this point. I'm just like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Let's all collectively admit that we have no idea what's going to happen. We've never known what's going to happen. Anything that's ever predicted to you what's going to happen has been yeah, sure, there's like tapping into the field and you can do like psychic stuff and that's all fun. But all of that is subject to change as well because everyone has free will and everything can change in a
Everyone,
moment.
yeah, and there's more
And
than one
can
timeline.
we just, yeah, and can we just
Yeah,
collectively admit that we don't know and it's not our job to know? It was never our job to know. We're not here to know.
right.
Here to live and be and,
Yeah,
and, and really have fun in this moment where everything's pretty cool. Like when you're in the present moment, like basic meditation, right? It's like it used to be so hard for me to meditate, but then I got in the groove of it and like you, lots of practice. And it's like, and still always return to the practice. Like, oh yeah, in this moment, everything's fine. Oh yeah, my mind that is worried and anxious and angry or whatever it's running, it's only operating in the past or the future. It's like just this back to basics again, right? But we're collectively as a human family learning to be present. And so all and then when we have so much trauma, we can't be present because if we're present, then we see all the trauma and we have to face it. So there's been this collective avoidance of being present to avoid feeling all the trauma and all
yeah,
the layers and the layers. So it's a lot. It's a lot to collectively admit that we don't know and our only option is to actually learn how to be present. Damn.
exactly. Be present, feel, and don't and know that the journey to the fifth dimension is going to be good. It's like you don't want it to be done in 4 months because you're going to miss out on all. I mean, would you? I'll use an analogy that I've been thinking about a lot lately. What if now my favorite Star Wars movies are the original three: New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. I don't really care for any of the other ones. But what if there was only one? What if you only got the New Hope one and that was it? You didn't get to go on that journey where there was a lot that they had to go through and become, and in the end, it's Luke's unconditional love for his father that is the real hero and the real thing that saves the day. And you don't get that in one movie. He just thinks Darth Vader, like everybody else, is just pure evil. So you have to be on a journey of realizing like all these people that you want to see caught and imprisoned and defeated, that ultimately when you get to this place of like, oh no, I want to be love in the face of that. I want to shine so much unconditional love on all of those people who are just playing roles. They're just pretending to be dark. So that, bless you.
Amen.
So that little light in the yin yang symbol that's surrounded by the dark, if you focus on that white spot and you shine all your energy there and let it get bigger and bigger, and that's more of a fun journey where you get to become who you really are than just fast forwarding right to the end so that you can just get on that spaceship or whatever people think is going to happen.
So many cop-outs. So many escapisms, escape routes. Like,
Yeah.
I so understand. I did that for a long time. And I did the conditional happiness for a long time. I'm still unlearning that one. I only deserve or am allowed to feel truly happy now if XYZ is happening out in the external world or is going to happen, or all these conditionalities, all these conditions. And they're all made up, but they've just been practiced for a really long time. They've been very well practiced, so they feel real. And the unlearning process is a humbling one. I guess I was sharing with you like the last couple of weeks. I'm curious to know about your personal journey the last couple of weeks too, just if you've felt any of the similar peaks and valleys I've felt, like just some big energy moving, especially early August, late July. I felt it just piercing through my heart at such a deep depth that I've never experienced before, just like purifying and just clearing out so much stuck stuff and really old like childhood memories that imprints that informed strategies in the adult life that really don't feel in integrity with who I'm here to be, and just like really doing that deep somatic work and like crying a lot and just but feeling like pretty depths, like the depths of like hopelessness and just like I don't, and almost like a disassociation of like I almost like just want to stop doing everything that I'm doing. I don't know if I could even show up in what I feel like I'm here to do, like this whole thing I've created, which is like the perfect vehicle to share my gifts and help and be all the things I want to be. But I was so overcome with this feeling of like, can I even show up in integrity and authenticity in this context? Or is it just everything is so conditioned that I can't help but perform in the same old ways if I'm showing up in these spaces doing the same things? And so I took a big step away energetically from everything. And even part of my process was like, okay, what would it look like if I just got a job? Like just got a job and did something else that wasn't so, my brand is my livelihood, is my soul service, is my purpose, is all these collusions, what if I just get a job and kind of like do something a little bit more relaxed and just see how that is, and of course nothing panned out. Everything felt very incongruent and awkward and kind of like, this is not the best use of your skills, Sydney. Like, what are you doing? All my guides were like, what are you thinking? What are you doing? Like, who do you think you are? And I know that's not everyone's process, but I just feel like sharing that because I feel like certain people in maybe our fields of resonance are going through kind of that identity death. And I don't know, that was just part of it. I found it very healing to kind of fling to the other end of the spectrum of just like cleanse everything, consider this totally alternate reality, literally try it on, like apply for a job, see how that feels, and just feel how the contrast feels. And is that really what I want? Is that really the answer? Is this just another condition? Is this just another escapism from facing what's actually here? So I'm curious if you've experienced anything like that ever, or just recently also what your experience has been with some of these healing opportunities.
Well, in terms of the ever, it was about 6 years ago. I was thinking to myself, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this for a living. I don't know if I can make enough money to survive by doing this. And amazingly, it all panned out. Like I moved to the Big Island with a wife who's now my ex-wife, but a dog and 3 cats, and and had sold everything, and was going to live off of that money until hopefully I started making enough to pay for life in Hawaii and had nothing to fall back on.
And you were doing, what was the work you were doing? I'm just curious.
I was channeling, but I was not the, like my list is probably like, my email list is probably like 8 times what it was then or something. Like it was, I didn't have the same life I have now where it's like I'm working constantly and it takes 5 months to even get an appointment with me. Back then you could like call me that day and say, hey, can I get an appointment? I'd be like, yeah, how about 3 o'clock, So I didn't know if I was going to be able to survive. And I did think at one time, like, oh, maybe I do have to get a job just to support me and all these other beings that I'm supporting here in a place where it's more expensive than, most places in the US, let's face it. But it all just magically worked out. And I guess it's because I was supposed to do this, that's the only way I can make sense of how everything sort of fell into place for me. And like a guy just came to me and said, I want to repay you for like all the free channeling you put out. So I want to be your web guy and help you with your website and stuff. And I needed a lot of help. And, I needed a lot of people to nudge me in the directions I needed to go in order to become, semi well known it's to the point where I could, earn a living at this. So that was mine. It wasn't like yours where I questioned whether I could handle it. Because when I'm channeling, I feel like so I'm so like protected. And protected is probably not the right word, but it's like the vibration, the energy, all of that is such that like I can handle a lot more of whatever the person that I'm channeling for is asking about or needs, So I feel really, really lucky that that's the path for me, is to just have to like, because most people, when they want to connect with me, they just want me to channel. So I just go to the back seat of the car and they come to the front, and it's relatively an easy thing to do once you get into it.
Yeah. It feels good. Feels like it's what you're here to do. So it just feels like you're living your design.
But as far as like what you were saying earlier, thing I wanted to comment on that is I feel like most people think that if they're contemplating becoming a spiritual teacher, a coach, a guide, or whatever, they feel like I'm not ready, I'm not perfect yet. Like I haven't become my self-actualized version of me. Like none of us. I mean, like there's a few, like I mentioned earlier, that I feel really have reached a high level of self-awareness and that embody their teachings, but a lot of us are just like total works in progress. And like you said earlier, the people that are just like a few steps behind are the ones that are going to resonate with your work and my work. It's not for everybody, that's for sure. But we're just fortunate enough to have come this far, and also have been willing to work on ourselves. I was in therapy when I was 18. That's when I saw my first therapist. I started young with like trying to get in there and like like something needs to be tweaked in here because things are not going well.
Unwind some of this stuff. Oh. So that's what's going on in the world.
That's
it. What's going on in the world is we're all doing a massive healing.
Yeah.
And we're all here tasked with really doing our deep healing work. Like every single person on earth right now, we are doing big healing. And it's okay. It's like the rest of this year is about that. It's about quiet internal reflection, regeneration, healing, rebirthing, and really getting in touch with all the choices that we all have. Like, what do we really want to create? What are we really here for? Beyond all the stories of, what we think we can't do, and what we're not allowed, and what we don't deserve, and beyond all of that noise, what is the inner being or higher self being or even multidimensional aspect being, of which we all have many, it's like, what are the messages you're getting? And how do you feel when you get a message? How do you feel your truth? How do you feel your intuition? This is like one of my favorite things to teach, because it's like, and it's astounding to me, every single person has a very different, unique way of even accessing intuitive insight. It's different in every person. Yes, there's patterns and there's like, certain particular paths and ways to guide, but every person we're all such unique, complex, and very wise beings. But it takes practice, it takes practice. And Ah, it's a long practice sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have anything else you want to share? Anything else alive on your heart? Any
I,
other broadcast to the world?
I was thinking about you and I being here and wanting to say to people too,
Mm,
um, that I do feel like it's important to live where you want to live. I
mm,
do think like if you're not happy being in a city, or you're just not feeling like there's enough people around you that get you, um, I think that Sydney and I are proof that you can go somewhere where you feel at home, and that the universe will line things up for you to do that, and make it. People always say, Maui either like accepts you with open arms or spits you out, and there are a lot of people who come and don't stay, but um, I'm not saying Maui's for everybody, but maybe it's Mount Shasta, or maybe it's Sedona, or Asheville, North Carolina, or Ashland, Oregon, or Austin, or somewhere where you're going to feel
mm.
more at home. And of course, there's people all over the world listening who, I'm sure there's great places. I know there's Byron Bay in Australia, and
Just listing all my favorite vortexes. Those are
Bali, Ubud, like there's all these places that
yeah.
people can go and live once the travel restrictions are lifted and everything. And it really does make a difference, where you feel at home. I mean, I used to live in Boston. I can't imagine living in Boston now.
Oh my gosh,
But
it's so hard. That's such a dense. I grew up when I was very little. I lived in Newburyport, Massachusetts, like Boston, and
yeah,
different. What a different planet.
yeah, I know.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's I think there was also that doubt within me. Not only did I doubt whether I could make a living and live anywhere, but especially in a place that's more expensive than the US mainland, but there was also just that doubt of like, do I want to take this giant leap of selling everything, like all this beautiful furniture that I had, sometimes like had custom made, and like my car that I felt like I had to sell it because I didn't want to ship it for $1,000. And, you know, I just was like, yeah, and the hardest part was the cats, honestly. Like I raised those cats from kittenhood, and and I didn't want to put them through the move and the shops and all that, but I ultimately felt so drawn to be here. And I literally wanted to move to Hawaii in 1999, so it really took me 15 years to follow through and wind up moving.
How long have you been in Maui?
I've been on Maui for over 5 years, but I moved to the Big Island in 2014.
Okay.
And I thought about moving to the Big Island in 1999, and then I thought about moving to Kauai in 2002, and almost did that time too. So
You were hearing the call for a long time.
yeah.
Yeah. I have been too, and it just snuck up on me. I mean, 2019 was one of the hardest initiation experiences I've ever had. The whole year was just like big initiations, and I was just really tired, and it just snuck up on me. A friend invited me to the Cape Pasana retreat here and put Maui on my radar. I'd always wanted to visit, but kind of like Bali years ago, I had always wanted to visit, but I never really visited. I never planned a trip because I think, I know that my soul wanted me to live there for a long time. So it wouldn't fly to just have a trip for like a couple weeks when you know you're going to live there. But the rational mind's like, okay, we can just spend a month and then keep extending, extending, extending. And so I had that preparation years ago when I stayed in, ended up living in Bali. And then this time around, Maui came onto my radar, and it was the same thing. And it was so fast. It was like, okay, I can go to this retreat 2 weeks, and then maybe I'll just stay in Maui for a month. And then like the next day I was like, wait, I don't want to just stay there for a month. I want to live. I've never visited before, but I just want to live there. I was having such a call, and then I saw 12/12, like you're flying on 12/12. You have to land there on that date, and everything will be taken care of. And I haven't really lived in a physical rooted home, you know, my own address in like a couple of years. And so it's been a big, and a lot of people still will be like, where are you? But like you even were like, are you traveling? And I have other friends sometimes are like, are you in Bali? Are you in Tulum? Are you? It's like, no, I'm here. I live in Maui. I live at a home. I have my own home here. And it's awesome. And it's been the perfect healing space to just integrate everything that has happened in this whole life and all of the last couple of years. And but you're absolutely right. There comes being in a really powerful, energetic portal, as this is. I feel Maui as a purification temple of Earth. I feel like we're a broadcasting station of the fifth dimensional and above frequencies. Like even in this transmission right now, we're broadcasting out a certain frequency, you know, so I love creating videos from here because we're sharing this energy that I believe is anchoring the template of these higher dimensional physical realities onto Earth. And it's here. You feel it. It's palpable. It's like in the food that we eat. It's so pristine. But then stepping into the space, you're highlighted and illuminated in all the aspects where you're dense or carrying stuff that you didn't even know you were carrying in order to be in vibrational match or easily, you know, integrated into the energy here. And that has been a long process for me. I mean, it's been a nervous system redesign still underway, nervous system major redesign to really be here and be in the home. It's an attunement. It's an attunement to home frequency. It's like, this feels like home. Okay, but how does the physical body now need to adjust, or what does it need to unlearn in order to be at rest in this home state? And I wonder if you experienced that upon moving here too.
Well, when I moved to the Big Island, I felt like that was not my home. But when I moved here, everything just lined up, and it was beautiful, and it was like it was that experience of like things happened so easily for me here that I just knew it just always felt right to be here for me.
Yeah, you're in the right place. You're in the broadcasting channel. You're right on the Haleakala Mountain where all the beings can find you easily.
And it looks like Mars. If you ever go to the crater, it looks like the surface of Mars up there.
Do you go up to the summit frequently? Are you ever called?
No, we both feel like it's too much motion sickness, the drive and the altitude. You know, like altitude makes me feel weird, and the hike is not my cup of tea. Like once you get there, you know, like I like trees, I like forests, so we just don't feel drawn to go up there.
Okay, I was gonna say, because I was driving up to Makawao yesterday, and the mountain was like, "You have to come up here on Sunday. Come to the summit." I was like, "Something's happening. Like, something's going on." So I'll tune in about that, but I'll like drive by your house. Hi, Daniel. I love that we're both here, and I love what you shared. You know, and this brings up so many people in my awareness, like some of my clients, students. You know, like. Yeah, like you have permission to live wherever you feel most supported and wherever you feel most alive. You know, like follow that. If you feel that inclination to like go live in more of a nature, you know, more of in our natural state amidst nature, like listen. And that's the best way to really turn on your intuition, by the way, is to be more immersed in nature, you know, more connected to the earth.
And your channeling skills and everything, You're getting into high vibration. It's all there.
Yeah.
It's all very cleansing. Just anytime you're in nature, you're going to get that. Whether you're still trying to be in your head and trying to be on your phone or not, you'll still get it. You'll still receive.
Put the phone down for a little bit. Oh, it's so nice to share with you, Daniel.
Yeah.
I really love you and I really appreciate you so much. And I just want to say again how much I acknowledge your generosity, for just the pure output. I don't know how you do it. The dedication, the commitment, the consistency, every day. For anyone that doesn't know, we'll put a link at the bottom of this episode. It's like you have these emails every day. They come right out like clockwork, and they're these beautiful transmissions. They're so healing. They're helping thousands of people. But more than that, it's just, and I think you already know this, but I just feel this is important to speak into, like the fact that you are writing it down. Just even the simple fact of writing it is crystallizing these energetics and potentials into our collective consciousness, whether or not anyone even reads it, and yet thousands of people are.
Yeah.
And
I agree. That's important.
yeah. So it's really significant work. And I just want to thank you for that, because I've benefit immensely. And no one's making you do this. You're just being of service, and it's amazing. And you have your books. You have books that are compilations of these
on Amazon, yeah.
Right? Okay, cool. So
And yeah,
link that up
they're on Kindle. You can buy it. They're like a nice coffee table book. They're huge.
Yeah. And do you have any other cool offerings happening right now, or anything you
I'm starting a Manifest Your Desires, Law of Attraction, Law of Creation course on Thursday.
Oh, hey, we like
So that's right on my website under the events menu tab. And there's also a little pop-up that will come up on the bottom right as you scroll for it. So.
Sweet. And you offer so many great sessions. I mean, I had a session with you a long time ago at the Palladian Council, I think, and that was really fun. And that was fun to connect with a Palladian aspect of myself and get into
I remember that.
And then another time we did some channeling sessions, and it's fun right now just speaking with you, because I'm aware that we're both just channeling, and it's like I think in the past I used to think more like, what is, I don't know, my expression or experience of channeling is just like what I'm communicating all the time if I'm actually listening and speaking from my heart.
Right.
So it's not like this other
Doesn't
thing.
have to be. Can be more integrated for sure.
Yeah. It's really nice to share the journey with you and to have these cool time capsules of the times where we've shared like this. And
this is the third one.
I almost want to look back at like the earliest one and just see what we were both like. That might be in comparison. I was probably talking like this and being really, really fast. I'm sure, and like all in LA mode.
And every sentence like it sounded like a question.
Right? Right? Oh my gosh. Yeah. So just celebrating, and for everyone listening and taking the time to share your presence with us. Thank you so much. Thank you for your presence.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I love you, Sydney.
Oh, I love you too. And I can't wait to see you sometime. And we'll do this more and more. And thanks for celebrating. It's beautiful to be with you. Thank you.
Yes.
Hello.